Alright, so we're checking out the RadioMaster TX12 MKII. It's been a while since the original TX12 came out here. That's the one here on the left. I believe I made that video in December of 2020, so yeah, it's been almost a year and a half, a little more than a year and a half, I think. I'm going to cover all the differences, of course. I mean, obviously, if you look at it here, they look pretty similar, but there's quite a few differences. I'm going to point that out in this video. But before I get to the radios, they did send along a bunch of other accessories I want to show you guys first. And yeah, it's pretty interesting. So we got this really nice neck strap or neck lanyard, or I guess, if you want to hang your radio on your neck. This is a pretty nice, I guess it's premium quality. Obviously pretty long, nice leather neck strap here. Got the RadioMaster logo on both sides. I'm not sure if this is real leather or not, but it's, seems pretty nice. Obviously all adjustable. If you don't like that leather feel, they do have some covers you can put on here. This is the red version, and it just wraps around the leather there with Velcro. And I think there's two colors right now, red and black. So this is obviously the red one. So obviously there's going to be links to all the stuff down in the video description if you're interested in these accessories. They're available on the RadioMaster website currently, and obviously other stores will be added later as usual. Two new receivers here. We've got the RP1 and the RP2. So the RP1 here comes with a micro-FL antenna, of course, and then their antennas are pretty nice, typically nicer than a lot of the other ones out there. And obviously micro-FL connector. And no wires are included. You get a little bit of heat shrink, and this is what the receiver looks like. Slightly different design than you see. There's a little bit longer. It's got that little corner cut out there, but otherwise pretty similar to a lot of other ones out there. This weighs 2.2 grams with the antenna. The firmware targets are already in the Express LRS configurator if you're wondering about that. If you want a longer antenna, this is available. This one here, this one is a 95 millimeter antenna. So obviously the lead is just a little bit longer. So this is actually sold separately if you need the longer one. There's the RP2 receiver now. This is the one with the SMD or the tower antenna, ceramic antenna, whatever you want to call it. So obviously instead of the micro-FL, you got the ceramic antenna there, but otherwise it looks the same, and I believe it uses the same Express LRS target, and does come with heat shrink. And you get the manual documentation, but no wires in this one. Got a couple of buttons here for the TX16S Mark II. So I think if I remember right, there was like a place you can add these buttons on the back of the radio. And this one here is the latching switch type button. So obviously there's extra plugs available on the main board, the TX16S Mark II, for these buttons if you want to add them as an upgrade. So they'll be added as extra, basically, switches in the radio. And then the other one here is the momentary switch. It's just a button, and this goes on the back of the radio, and you just plug it into the main board. Got these switch covers here that are labeled. So here we have, this one's for buzzer with our short ones, and then we have these longer ones. And this one here is like an arm switch, so if you want to use these on your switches, if you don't like the metal feel, you want something nicer, this is silicone. And just to show you what this looks like on here, it's pretty easy to just slide them on. So obviously once you put the proper cover on the proper switch, I'm just putting this on here for demonstration, and it just slides on like so. And you can see right there. So gives you a nice different look and different feel, of course. Of course, if you don't want to see the label on there, you could just obviously just put it on reverse wise, and there'll be this blank on the other side. Other colors are available. Check the link in the description if you want to see the other colors that are available and the switch covers. I think that's everything that was sent in terms of the extra stuff. Okay, so before we get to the radio here, I just want to remind you guys that if there's a lot of you that are watching my videos that aren't subscribed, and I think it's like around 14-15% watch are actually subscribed to the people that actually watch the videos. So yeah, if you're one of those that aren't subscribed, I would appreciate if you could subscribe and turn your notifications on if you happen to like my videos. That really helps out the channel. So let's get into the nitty-gritty of these radios. So obviously, you get your manual, you get your stickers, of course. You get a 18650 battery tray. This is actually comes inside. I put a lithium polymer battery in there, and this does balance charging because it does have that third wire there on the plug. So if you're wondering about that, it will balance charge. And you get a little cap here for the top where the antenna goes, but you definitely want to use the antenna unless you're using an external module. This is just there if you're not using the internal module. And then you have a USB-C cable for charging, also for data transfer. And does quick charge 3.0 now compared to the old original TX12 Mark I. Okay, so if you're just looking at the radios from the front here, and you're looking at them side by side here, you're like, well, what's different about these? No, it looks almost the same. The plastic feels the same in terms of the front cover. All of the buttons and the scroll wheel and the screen are the same. You get a different sticker here in the front. It says EdgeTX Express LRS now instead of OpenTX Multi, and that's to indicate what's changed on the inside. So now EdgeTX is standard now, and the module in here, instead of the CC2500 multi-module, which is actually a single module technically, you have the Express LRS internal module here, and you still have the same external module bay, JR module bay in the back. You still have the same folding handle. That hasn't changed, so that's the same. But the back is somewhat different here. If you look on the back here, it's pretty obvious. They put these much larger grips here on the back. Still plastic. Obviously, there's probably going to be some third-party grip tape, whatever, that's going to come out probably for this model. That will give you better grip if you're looking for that, but this definitely feels a lot better in the hand in terms of holding onto the radio. These were much smaller on the original version, and then you can see the battery bay opening here at the bottom is a little bit different. Let me just show you what is different here. So I have actually a goggle battery in here, plugs in right there. SD card now comes standard, whereas it did not come with the our first version. I think it's a 256 megabyte SD card. Obviously, that's useful for firmware upgrades and other things like voice files, etc. There's a USB-C port here. This is for charging. So this is not on the first version. The first version actually used a single USB-C port for charging and everything else, data transfer, etc., simulator use. This is for charging down here, and I think this is the way the Zorro is set up. So this is kind of like they've taken some of the features from the Zorro and then put them into an updated version of the TX12. You have new gimbals on this one, so you can see here the original TX12. We have the standard potentiometer gimbals. Still, in my opinion, those are fine, very good gimbals, but obviously a lower cost. Now they have moved on to the same gimbals that were in the Zorro, so you probably recognize these. They're the same ones. They have the adjustable travel screws here for adjusting the travel on the front face, and then these are now Hall sensor gimbals instead of potentiometer gimbals, so definitely a great feel. These are excellent gimbals in my opinion. Nice upgrade here for those who are looking for that. Again, internally, they changed the mainboard design and also the MCU as an updated MCU. Obviously, with the chip shortage and everything, they've gone to a newer chip that's more, I guess, probably more readily available. I'm not sure if it's necessarily cheaper or more expensive. That's probably something that only they know, but they've switched the MCU. So what's important to know is that while it does have EdgeTX support, it has to use a different target compared to the TX12 Mark I. So be aware of that if you're looking to do updates on this. For EdgeTX, you have to use the proper target, otherwise you're probably going to have to reflash it. It'll probably be bricked and you have to reflash it. So just something that they told me to warn people about. Make sure you choose a correct target, although, right now it's I think the latest version is 2.71 in the TX, in the EdgeTX configurator. And the one that's on here is version 2.80. So it's a special version just for this radio, and this target is, at least at the time of this video, is not in the configurator that I can see, but by the time this thing launches, it should be in there. So if you're worried about that, obviously this is going to be whatever's on here at the time of this video is newer than it's currently available anyway, so getting updates is kind of not an issue. The firmware for the Express LRS module in here it's the same module that's in the Zorro. So if you have a Zorro, it's got that 250 milliwatt internal module. That target's already in the Express LRS configurator. It's the exact same module. So when you try and do any updates, either via the EdgeTX pass-through or Wi-Fi, it's going to be using the Zorro target. Now they are going to update that so that there'll be another one for the TX12 Mark II, even though it technically is the same hardware. You can then update it with the properly named internal module name for the target. But I was able to update mine with the Zorro target, and it worked fine, no problem. Okay, the last thing that's different here is the sliders on the side, and it's going to be hard. Well, it's hard to show on video, but the physical slider edge here is a little bit different. I'll show you the original here in a second, but it just feels like it has a little bit more of a feel. It's not as loose. So for those of you that complained that the sliders are too loose on the original TX12, this one has a little bit better feel, and that's another improvement that they made in the Mark II. Here's what the original looks like. It's just flat on the edge here, and it just moves much too fast. It just doesn't, I don't use the sliders, but I know that some people complain about this. It doesn't feel that great. So they improved that in the Mark II. All the switches are the same. So you have these same momentary buttons here. All these switches here are still 3-position switches, which I kind of was hoping at least one of these could be a 2-position switch, but I suppose you could always swap these out for a 2-position switch on your own if you want that. And of course, all the trim buttons, scroll wheel, all the regular buttons here are the same, as well as the screen. So here on the top, the antenna is removable. As always, it is a RP-SMA connector. So if you want to use a different antenna than the one that's included, either like a T antenna or some other high-end antenna, you can swap that out. It's just not a problem. Got your trainer port here, and then the top USB-C port here is for firmware updates for the radio, and also when you use EdgeTX pass-through, you can do firmware updates on the internal Express LRS transmitter module through this USB-C port. And also this is for simulator uses or USB joystick on Windows PCs or Macs. And then the one on the inside here is for charging the battery. Yeah, so that's pretty much it here. I've been using this for not too long here, maybe a little bit less than a week. And it feels great. The gimbals feel the same as the Zorro. Obviously EdgeTX and the Express LRS module works fine. I haven't had any issues. This is basically like for those of you that prefer this style radio, the boxy style radio, and we're flying maybe the TX12 or maybe like the Jumper T12, and you were looking for some of the upgraded features that came in the Zorro, but you don't like the gamepad style radio, this is probably for you. You're going to get the internal Express LRS module, the EdgeTX support, the Hall sensor gimbals. I think those are the big things that people were looking for, but they wanted to keep this sort of, boxy style, but not necessarily move up to the bigger TX16S. They like the smaller boxy style radios, but they wanted something like the TX12 but upgraded. Yeah, so that if that's you, then this is probably going to work out pretty well. This is obviously for me. I'm kind of I don't know. I kind of like the gamepad style radios a little bit better. So I don't think I'm going to be switching to this as my daily driver. There was a time when I used the Jumper T12 like for about a year, I think. That was a really nice radio for me. But since I moved on to the gamepad style radios, I think I prefer that one now over this style of radio. This is a really good size and weight. I think another advantage of this style radio over the Zorro is that you get the bigger battery. So if you want the better battery life, you can put two 18650s in here instead of the smaller batteries in the Zorro, and you don't have to deal with like extra batteries and stuff like that. Obviously, that comes with this bigger form factor, is you get better battery support in that regard. Anyway, that's going to do for this video. Links down in the video description for everything that you saw in the video. I'll talk to you guys in the next one.